Inside the Line, the Catskills. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 2. Tonight we'll be diving into some history of the Catskills with the first official trail ever created in the Catskills, and an intro to the 3500 Club with what hikes you should start off with to get your 3500 Club patch. Enjoy! We are live. Welcome to Inside the Line, the Catskills. I am your host, Stash. My friend is with me, Joe. He is a fellow STAR team member, 3500 Club member, and probably many more things. So, Joe, introduce yourself, buddy.
Hi, how you doing, Stash? Basically, I retired in 2012, and when I really started hiking in the Cats, and I did my first hike on June 2012. I started on Twin, and I just fell in love with the Catskills. And a year and a half later, I finished the winters and the regular peaks. It was awesome.
And then a couple years later, you joined me in Search and Rescue.
Right. I joined you on Search and Rescue, and last year I finished my grid in March 2020. And before that, I did the Catskill 100 Highest, which was another awesome set of peaks. And in between all that, I finished the Whites, the 48 and the Whites, and now I'm working on the Adirondack 46.
Awesome. That's insane. Hats off to you, Joe. Everything. And then you just also became a wilderness first responder, correct?
Yeah, about a couple months ago. It was a great class. We did it over 4 days and 2 Zoom sessions. A lot of material. I wish I could remember it all.
Oh yeah, I was there with you the last day, and the stuff you guys were talking about was kind of crazy about like starfish and stingrays and stuff.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of that in the Catskills.
I hope not. I really hope not. That'd be scary. So once again, I'd like to thank Mike and Stomp of Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast for influencing me to do this. I listened to their new one today, and they gave me a shout out, which was pretty crazy. I didn't think they would ever do that, but they're great guys. Listen to their stuff. It's awesome stuff about hiking in New Hampshire and search and rescue in New Hampshire. Great stuff. We also, on our site, if you can't see it, we have a little app called Buy Me a Coffee. It's for donations. This is not, of course, free. Hopefully I get some sponsors once in a while and we'll get some better platforms, but this comes out of the pocket. But you know what? I don't mind. I'm having fun. Hopefully the people I interview are having fun. And that's what it's all about, of course. So let's start off the day. Joe, what are you drinking, bud?
I'm drinking my Malbec, 2019 Malbec that I made.
Interesting. What is that? Is it a wine? Or...
Oh, yeah. It's a red wine. I've been making wine for about 15 years. And I make a couple of different varieties.
Excellent.
And tonight I'm drinking my Malbec.
That's crazy. You're probably going to get wasted like everybody else does when you give them free stuff.
Nah, I don't intend to.
Well, I got me some 1911 hard cider. Or John got this for me when he was up in the Finger Lakes. So trying some new stuff. It's not bad I'm not a beer guy. I'm more of a hard liquor kind of guy, but this hard cider is pretty good. Joe, I remember you talking about, so just for your information, everybody, this is our second episode 2. We had recording problems last time we tried to record. So this is our second episode 2. We'll put this out later. But Joe, I remember you saying you were on a previous hike with your 11-year-old grandson, correct?
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we were taking care of my grandson, and he just finished his 31st peak. And we did it with Lone, Rocky, Balsam Cap, and Friday. We did it as a through hike. And he just loved it. There was so much bushwhacking, and he just loved every minute of it.
That's incredible. And for those who are listening, Lone, Rocky, Friday, and Balsam Cap are all bushwhacks on the 3500 Club. I would have to say about 60% of it is total bushwhacks, I would say. Going up Friday and Balsam Cap is an easy herd path, but everything else is almost bushwhacking, especially going between Balsam Cap and Rocky is awesome. 100% bushwhacking. And an 11-year-old did it with Joe, which is crazy that that somebody would ever go on a hike with Joe, because he just leads you to the crazy stuff. And we'll talk about that later. Also about Joe, he is called the Plane Crash Hunter. Future episode, we're going to have Joe talking about plane crashes. Me and him hunt for plane crashes. He does most of the research, and then I help him out with the bushwhacking. So remember that Joe is the plane crash king of the Catskills, and we'll definitely talk about that later. I haven't done anything. I don't plan on to. I've been working a lot, so hopefully I'll get out on a hike this coming Tuesday. Are we doing anything this coming Tuesday or no?
Not together, because you backed out of Sunday.
Yes, that's true. Unfortunately, work. I got to save up that money so I can retire like you guys and hike every day for the rest of my life.
Yep, it's fun.
Yeah. We got some Catskill news. There was recent flooding from Hurricane Henry up in Windham, and then I heard in the Big Cloves down in Catskill and Platte Clove and stuff like that. So be on alert. I don't know if any roads are closed. I still think the route from Hunter to Jewett is closed because they're trying to rebuild the bridge that went down in December. But other than that, no news. And tonight we're going to be going over some history of the Catskills. Almost as always, I like to do history first, and then we'll talk about the great 3500 Club that Joe and I are both a part in, and we've also partaked our volunteer time with them. So we'll definitely get into that. But so let's start. Our first part is Catskill history and early trails of the Catskills. In 1982, the state spent $250 to build a trail up the highest mountain in the Catskills, which is Slide Mountain. $250 is pretty cheap this day and age. It would cost, I don't even know, thousands and thousands, I'm guessing, to build something up there. This slide was only proven to be highest by Arnold Goyette in 1886. Before that, everybody thought Kaaterskill High Peak was the highest because of its distinct shape. Kaaterskill High Peak is definitely stands out amongst a lot of other peaks in the Catskills. And a lot of tourists, of course, always want to come to the highest peak in the Catskills. So once they found this out, the state decided to build a trail up it, where they also had, which is pretty crazy, some towers up there, lookout towers. If you've ever been up Slide, the top is completely full of trees. It's all been grown back. And having a 360-degree view of the Catskills when you're on top of the Catskills it's got to be absolutely phenomenal. And I couldn't imagine that. And I remember, I don't know if Joe's ever been up there during like big snows, but I know some people have been up there after like 5 or 6 feet of snow, and they said they can actually see around a 360-degree view, which got to be insane. Correct?
I mean, maybe if you're standing on Burroughs Rock, you might be able to, with a couple of feet of snow. Possible.
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. But this trail was probably the most heavily trafficked trail, and it still is. I got to admit, it's one of the most heavier ones. And the summit was limited at before they started building this. So once they built the trail, they put the lookout towers. And I remember seeing old pictures of this, where it was basically 4x4s or 6x6s stacked on top like a pyramid. And it looked very, very scary and very crazy. But hey, I guarantee I would go up there and do that if it gave me a 360-degree view on top of Slide Mountain. Definitely. So Slide Mountain is very number one significant to that it was the first trail built. But it's also really cool because at the top of Slide Mountains, more towards the top, there are quartz pebbles found. It makes it like a garden feel with the quartz pebbles. These are found nowhere else in the Catskills, and they have likely they would not have survived the Wisconsin glaciation. I forgot how to say that. And it been speculated that Slide's summit may have been a Nunatak, which I looked that up today, a summit or ridge of a mountain that protrudes from ice field or glacier. So if you can think about it, Slide once maybe stood above a glacier, was the only peak above a glacier, which is pretty neat. But they found striation marks on the rocks along the summit ridge, thinking that basically the glacier carved over the top. So it hasn't been proven yet, but they look into it, and it's pretty neat stuff. Yeah, I mean that's about it for our Catskills history right now. It's pretty cool stuff that it only costs $250 to build a trail up to the top of the highest peak And nowadays, I don't even know how much it cost. Probably a lot, a little bit too much. And it takes a lot of planning, definitely. And they made a really good trail. I got to admit, that trail that they made a long time ago was fantastic. It's very little gain, but still just enough to keep your heart race. And it's absolutely a perfect trail, especially in the winter. Correct, Joe?
Oh, it's awesome in the winter. It must go in the winter.
Yeah, definitely. So this brings us to our first and only content of the night, which is the intro to the 3500 Club. So back in 1949, an idea came to two people of the Catskills named Bill and Kay Spangelberger. They wanted to climb all the Catskills that are above 3,500 feet or higher. They climbed them all in about 3 years and shared their idea with local hiking clubs, but none of people really were interested. And it remained dormant for another decade till about 1962 when the 3,500 Club was actually born, and it was headed by Bill. After completing the required peaks, which is 33 of them, 37 total if you're going to include the winters, candidates submit a tally sheet to the club's membership chairman, who is Dave White, makes a fantastic story about your peak adventures, which is absolutely amazing, and I love it. I wish I could get like 4 or 5 of them, but probably not. They receive a card, letter, and patch, and assign a hiking number that is printed on a certificate, and it's presented at the annual dinner. All in all, there are 33 peaks you have to climb in the summer times or whenever you want, and then there's 4 required in the winter. Rocky has been proven to be below 3,500 feet, but it'll be always on the list. Hopefully they're going to make people do it forever. I know people are going to get mad about that, but you know what? Rocky is definitely in my heart as one of my favorite peaks. Slide Mountain tops out at the highest as 4,180 feet. 14 of those peaks are trailless, and I say that with quotation marks because a lot of them have herb paths now. So it's kind of stinks because Joe and I are bushwhacking kings. We love bushwhacking, and especially when you're doing whatever you want instead of following the GPS pattern that your lieutenants give you all the time. But in addition, the 4 winters are Slide, Panther, Blackhead, and Balsam. And winters means December 21st to March 21st. Winter is requirement. This winter requirement is very unique for the Northeast because no other hiking clubs require you to hike in the winter. And this is very special because it gives you a feel of the winter finally. If you never want to hike in the summer, everybody wants to hike in the summer because it's nice out, there's no extra purchases required like snowshoes or spikes and stuff like that. But this definitely made me fall in love with the Catskills even more. And I really didn't want to do it. I hated winters in New York State. Cold, wet and soggy at times with the snow. It was horrible. But when I hiked my first winter, Panther Mountain during a snowstorm, it was absolutely magical. I fell in love and I love hiking in the winter. And I know Joe likes hiking in the winter, correct?
Oh, it's my favorite time of year to hike, definitely. And I actually think I might have started on Panther also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a great peak to hike in the winter as well. So, I mean, we had no views at all, but that sound of there was nobody else on the trail. The sound of the wind and the snow. We had a nice little snowstorm at the time, so it was great. And that's what makes the club unique is that you hike those winter peaks, and then all of a sudden you're falling in love with it. So total, all in all, climbs is 37. There's now 3,600 in the club, and recently, I think it was like 6 months ago or maybe a year ago, they actually became 3,500 people in the club, which is pretty neat. That went out to our friend Julie. Actually, she got the 3,500th member.
Mrs. Castle.
Yeah, Mrs. or Miss Catskill. We don't.
Right.
Yeah,
Ms. Catskill.
We'll get her on here for sometime for some talking about plane crashes or something. But definitely, this was my greatest accomplishment. I gotta say, I didn't think I would ever do this in my life, and it just felt so amazing to conquer these peaks and to have fun on them and to enjoy the amazing views and challenges of the Catskills. If you want a lot of good information, it's catskillmountaineer.com. Check it out. Awesome information. Michael Cantwell does an incredible job on that. He's actually updated a lot of things. I got mostly all my info from the CatskillMountaineer.com website. I don't know. Have you checked that place out, Joe?
Oh yeah, I used it. I've did a lot of research for plane crashes on the Mountaineer website.
And other things as well.
Yes. He's got a lot of good information. He has actually, I think he's the website that has a great piece on lightning, if I remember.
Oh, nice. Lightning like strikes on the peaks.
Well, just how to protect yourself from and during a lightning storm.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, he's a great.
Has a little module. I think that's him.
Oh, really? Nice. I'll have to check it out. He's a great guy. I've talked to him several times, and I've wanted to hike with him because he wants to explore the Clove, the Catterskill Clove, and yeah. There's all those amazing cloves that are probably the steepest in the Catskills. But one day, I'm a little hesitant on going up there because of how scary it looks from the escarpment trail. But yeah, so we're thinking about talking about great first hikes for the club. One of them that comes to mind is always Windham High Peak. I think that's an amazing, easy hike. Definitely there's multiple parking areas, Elm Ridge in Windham, Peck Road in Maple Crest, and Big Hollow in Maple Crest. Every direction offers amazing viewpoints and are well-maintained, well-marked hiking trails, all with awesome experiences all in all. I'd have to say one of the coolest ones is coming from, I think you can both approach this, Elm Ridge and Peck Road is the what people call the Enchanted Forest. The big tall pines, you walk through a field of big tall pines and it's absolutely magical, especially in the winter. Definitely love that area. Now, the one in Big Hollow is the longest, being 7.6 miles, with a little over 1,400 feet of gain, but that also offers the best views. Definitely has amazing views in all directions. Burnt Knob has an amazing view of the Blackheads, and you're also going along the escarpment, so it's very cool to meet some people in there that have been doing the through hike of the whole escarpment. And at the top offers great views of the Blackheads end of the Hudson Valley, where you can see over into Albany, into Vermont, and Massachusetts, and Connecticut. Amazing first hike for the Catskills. Joe, your thoughts? What do you love about Windham?
I think it's an excellent first hike. And on the top, if you on one side you look north, and the other side you look south to the Blackheads, and it's a great view of the Blackheads. And you're right, you could see Albany, I think, on a good clear day from the north side. It's a perfect first hike. Perfect.
Definitely. And it's all in all, most of the trails around 6 to 7.5 miles. You're gonna have a little bit of game.
Yeah. It's not a lot of game. Right, you're correct. I think even from Peck, the easiest is Peck Road, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's probably 1,400 and around 6 miles round trip.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with Peck, I mean, there's parking's limited on Peck Road, of course, so get there early. Parking's also limited on Big Hollow, so get there early because you got 3 other peaks around there that you can climb, and then multiple viewpoints. Elm Ridge is the longest, but it also has, I don't even know how many parking areas. That's got to hold at least 70 cars.
On 23?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But all in all, every direction offers a phenomenal first hiking experience in the Catskills. I always love going to Windham High Peak for like a beautiful, easy day to take off, and like Joe said, you can see Albany. Sometimes on a clearest day, you can even see the Capitol buildings, which is absolutely phenomenal. I forgot how many miles away. That's probably like 60 miles away.
Probably.
Yeah, as the crow flies, maybe like 30 to 60 miles away. Not sure. But definitely great first hike. Yeah. On to the next one. Another great first hike in the Catskills to get you into the 3,500 Club. Slide Mountain, definitely. Slide is the tallest mountain in the Catskills. It's one of the most popular. It's got a big parking area, which is on Route 47, correct?
Correct.
Okay, 47. I was going to say 42, but that's over in Hawkett.
Nope, 47.
Route 47. It's right after the Panther Giant Ledge Trailhead. A lot of parking areas. Total mileage, around 6.2 miles with 1,400 feet of gain. Right in the beginning, you have a cool creek crossing, which most of the times it's dry, but when it gets running, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. You rock hop and stuff like that. After the creek crossings, you get up a little gain and you get into a little slippery section where there's some man-made steps right at the end, and then you'll take a right and you'll start going up Slide Mountain on the old, I would say that it's a log. It feels like a logging trail. It feels too good to be a trail that's not been logged. Once you get above 3,500 feet, you'll start hitting some the beautiful balsams of the Catskills. You didn't get that on Windham High Peak. That's what stinks. But if you do slide, you get the beautiful balsams, and that really shows you the beautiful part of the Catskills is when you get up in the balsams, you get that smell, that fresh smell of the balsams. I think I have like 4 or 5 different soaps that have the balsam smell because it's so good. Once you get up to this certain part, you'll be going along the edge of the mountain, and you call this one place that you get into is I call the tunnel, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Joe knows this area. It's magical, right?
Yeah, it's when you hit you go pretty far up. It's probably above 35, and then you hit the ridge. You hit the ridge line, and you basically go left across the top of the peak, I think.
Yeah, correct. And the way the balsams are on both sides makes it feel like you're going through a tunnel. And in the winter, it's absolutely phenomenal. I have pictures of winter and summer, which is really neat. If I ever make a web page, I'll definitely post them on there. I think I got a web page going, but I got to figure out how to do it. But definitely one of those cool feels. I remember talking to some people at the stewardship, and I told them about that section, and they said that section was absolutely incredible. And like I said, once you get up a little further up, it'll start flattening out. And most of the time, once you get up into the balsams, you'll also hear the wood thrush or the Bicknell thrush. And like I said, I remember talking about this before. I forgot what John Burroughs called the song that they sing. It's like a golden flute with something else. I forgot what it was, but it's a perfect way to know you're in the Catskills is the Bicknell thrush. Song is just what they sing is incredible. And if you can whistle back, because they whistle right back to you, and they love it. And once you get above that certain time, once again with the balsams, you'll connect with nature. Especially when you're alone or with someone else, it feels totally different. It feels, I don't know, you're away from everything in life and you are connected with Mother Nature, and you can see what Mother Nature has created, and it's amazing. And just before the summit is the beautiful viewpoint of Slide Mountain that I don't know, it just feels different than the other places. I mean, they definitely got, I wouldn't say better views, but just as spectacular views in the Catskills. But Slide makes you feel like you are on top of the world. The other peaks around it are only like 100 feet lower, or not even. And it looks like you look over at them and they're small, tiny little specks. It's amazing. And the DEC, I remember recently opened this up in the past couple of years. And they did a phenomenal job. You can see Panther Mountain now. You can see over out to the west. You can see basically, I'd have to say that's a 180 view, correct, Joe?
Pretty much. Yeah, it's one of the good viewpoints.
Definitely. And I love that viewpoint. And it's great to be when you're alone. I've sat there for hours. Absolutely great. And then once you proceed after the viewpoint, you could get to the top where it's like bare rock. It's not totally bare rock, but there's still pines around you. And you can see old blocks of the old towers on there. It looked like it used to be a fire tower, but there was no fire towers on the slide. So this was all old lookout towers for tourists, really. So it was pretty neat. And I remember reading somewhere that the Winniesuk Club actually charged people to go up there one time, $5 or something. One, maybe it wasn't $5. It was too much back then. Maybe like $1 or something. I read that somewhere. I'll have to check that out. Also, when you get to the top, you'll see all the open rock, and then there's the trail that goes down towards Wittenberg and Cornell, and right below that start of that trail is the Burroughs plaque. Joe reminded me about this the last session we had, and it's dedicated to John Burroughs, because John Burroughs, if you look him up, loved the Southern Catskills and loved Slide Mountain. That's where he researched the Bicknell thrush, and he approached Slide Mountain from Woodland Valley, which is crazy. I've done it I think once or twice now. I mean, I've gone down with Joe, and we'll talk about that later. But I've gone up it through one of the ridges that John Burroughs hiked, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I'll have to take Joe up there. Have you gone up that way, Joe? Up that little ridge right off of Woodland?
No, I know you. I know you said you have. I'd like to try it. I haven't done it.
Excellent. I get to lead Joe on a bushwhack. That's pretty cool. Plaque says, I mean, I wrote this down very, very briefly. I took a note on it. It says, he in his early writings introduced Slide Mountain to this world, and John Burroughs slept several times below this rock. And this perfectly makes perfect statement about the Catskills. Here the works of man dwindles in the hearts of the southern Catskills. I agree with that, definitely, especially when you're bushwhacking out there. You seriously see no trace of man, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Once again, one of the best hikes. Make sure when you're at the top, you retrace your steps back down, because if you start going the other way, you'll end up on Cornell and Wittenberg, and that's one hell of a hike back to your car, especially going up Slide. Slide is a tough one from that way. Definitely learned my lesson several times. Joe, your thoughts on this hike? I've talked so much. I need you to talk.
Yeah. Even though it's the highest peak, I think it's another easy peak. It's not unlike, Windham. It's not really a hard climb. It's not that long. It's an easy first peak, even though it's the highest in the Catskills. And a lot of people do it. I'm kind of excited because tomorrow I'm going to be doing my first trail steward, sitting in the parking lot on 47, hopefully meeting lots of people tomorrow.
Excellent.
Yeah, my first one, because I was so busy all summer taking care of my grandson.
Excellent. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. And I think another thing we should say that Slide is probably a really good first snowshoe.
Very good point.
The trail. I think it's probably, I mean, I wouldn't do it, in 3 or 4 feet of snow, but, when there's a foot of snow on the ground, I think it would be a great first snowshoe.
That's a great point. That's a very good introduction to the winter as well.
Right, because there's no crazy scrambles or anything that would be difficult. So.
Yeah, there's no obstacles. There's like one obstacle towards the top, and that's very, very limited.
Yeah, but that's not bad.
But good.
We're getting close to the winter, and if people are listening, that it would be a good snowshoe.
Definitely, I agree with that. My friend, we're talking about snowshoeing in the winter. Our previous recording had my friend John on here, and he did his first winter with us going up Slide. He said he didn't have the proper gear, but he did. He had the right gear. He had micro spikes, but they weren't as thick and as tough as the ones we had, as aggressive. So on the way up, it was okay. On the way down, it was horrible. And when he hit this one spot, he fell, hit his shoulder and his whole body on his right side, and he started laughing. So we were like, what is wrong with this guy? He broke his arm, or he fractured his arm. Sorry, he fractured his arm, and he just kept laughing, and it was very odd. But once again, John remembered or thought that skimping on gear is not really something you should do, especially in the winter. And he's had several times in the winter where he's gone and he's just like, man, I'm very glad I bought these more expensive than the spikes, than the $30 spikes that you can get at like Walmart or Dick's or something like that. Definitely go with the aggressive stuff, especially when you're going in the winter. Don't want to skimp out on gear. But yes, Joe, definitely perfect. Great introduction to a winter hike. I agree with that, definitely. All right, our last one we're gonna talk about a good introduction to the 3500 Club is Hunter Mountain. Hunter Mountain is the second tallest in the Catskills at 4,045 feet. It's a longer hike. It's 7.5 miles from Spruceton Road with around 2,000 feet of gain, but at 2,000 feet of gain is spread out around 3.6 miles, 7.5 miles round trip, 3.6 miles up to the top. And it's a very easy hike. It's basically a log road all the way to the top with barely any obstacles. Actually, there is no obstacles on the way to the top. It feels like it's almost it's paved. That's what I get the feeling is. But there's a horse stable about a mile up, and once you start going up past that horse stable is when it gets a little bit more aggressive with the elevation gain. It's a beautiful walk up to the horse stable. but after that, the elevation gain kind of doubles, and you're battling some elevation. But it's very, once again, easy. It's basically a dirt road, and it feels like it's maintained. I guarantee it is, because they have to bring stuff up there sometimes. Almost all the way up, or about 3/4 of the way up, is a very aggressive approach. But it's very nice. It makes your heart beat, but it's very good for you. It's very good for hiking. Is very good. So, about, I would say maybe like halfway up is the spring, which is very unique on Hunter Mountain, and the spring is flowing. I've never seen it not flowing. It's always flowing 100%. Joe, have you ever seen it dry?
Never.
That spring is a beautiful joy when you're going up, because it's cold as heck, and it's drinkable. I've drank out of it like 5 or 6 times, and I've never had a problem. Some other people might have a problem, but it's always great to see that spring. You're like almost halfway there, or maybe even further. And it's always good to get that cold water on your face and on your head. I love that. A little bit after the spring is the spur trail to the lean-to, which leads you out to the Great John Robb lean-to, and a beautiful view of the Spruceton Valley. Don't skimp on that viewpoint, because it's a couple hundred feet, not even, or maybe a little bit more, but it's a beautiful viewpoint. You don't want to miss out on a viewpoint, especially on a cloudy day when you're going up Hunter and you can't get anything in the on the fire tower. So definitely, it's also a good place to relax and catch your breath, and then proceed on to the hike. One thing about going up Hunter Mountain is once you get to the top, it flattens out a little bit, and there's a lot of muddy spots. Just try to stay in the middle of the trail. Trail winding is not good, especially in these places where the trail is already huge. You're already going in the balsams and stuff. So just get muddy. It's just mud. It's no problem. What are you there to hike for? The views and to get your feet dirty, right? So after you get all through all that mud, you start gaining a tiny little bit more, and you're finally at the top of the mountain with the fire tower. One of the best views in the Catskills, 360-degree view. You basically see almost everything. The only full path you don't see is the Devil's Path. You get to see the Blackheads. You get to see the Burros Range. You get to see the Spruceton Valley. I don't know. It's a very awesome view. I was just up there 2 weeks ago. I didn't get any view, but I still enjoyed it thoroughly. Yeah, basically right after that, you retrace your steps back to your car, so you don't go, once again, there's other trail systems going to other directions. Don't want to go that way, because then you'd have to retrace your steps back up the mountain, and it's a pain in the ass, especially when you go down Becker Hollow. Becker Hollow is a fun one. So excellent. That's a good first introduction to the Catskills. What do you think about this Hunter Mountain hike, Joe?
Well, out of all three, this is the toughest one. Not that it's very difficult compared to the rest, but I mean, it's probably the hardest of the three because of the elevation gain, and a little bit longer. But, I've went up there probably 6 times before I went to the lean-to, and the lean-to is really a treasure, because you go through these boulders the size of, I think they're probably the size of houses, right? Don't you think so?
Oh, yeah.
They're huge. And you go through this boulder field, and then you get to the view. And you're correct. It's probably a good couple of 100 feet. And that's all it is. And you really should go there, because I know I didn't go there for a couple, after 6 or 7 times up. And I finally went there, and I was going, wow, I really missed a great section to go through and a nice view. One thing interesting, though, you were talking about it being a road. I know maybe a couple of years ago, they put a lot of gravel down on the road. And I know every time I descend, I wind up slipping on my butt on the way down. It's because of the gravel. You have to be careful, and watch your step on the way down.
I agree. I think I know where, right after the horse stable, correct? When it starts gaining.
Yeah.
Almost all the way up.
Steeper sections it's just a gravelly, maybe they didn't put it down, but it's just a gravelly section, and it's kind of slippery.
Agree. So
it's not terrible.
Once again, proper footwear, stuff like that, water, food. We'll go over that in a couple minutes. But yeah, Joe, that one spur trail that goes to the lean-to, they got, like Joe said, the great big rocks, and you get to squeeze yourself through one part of it, and then you kind of nudge your way through another part, and you get to the lean-to, and it's a very cool spot. Kids probably love that. I guarantee the kids love it. I know I do. I got it.
My grandson thought that was the best part of the hike.
Oh, nice. I mean, it is. It's a fire tower, so it's a fire tower. It's just a log road all the way to the top. So definitely taking this little side trail that's only a couple hundred feet definitely gives a different feeling to it. So it's really, really neat and really fun. Once again, three hikes for great introduction to the Catskills 3500 Club is Wyndham High Peak, Slide, and Hunter. Check them out. We talked about Wyndham High Peak on that last episode, so it was pretty cool. Yeah. Basically, also one thing to remember once again on these hikes, I mean, they might be the easiest hikes we recommend for the 3500 Club, but you still need proper footwear because it's still going to be slippery, water, and food because you need that energy. You need to be hydrated. There have been several times where people have been dehydrated and have to be taken off these simple peaks. So don't skimp out on food or water or shoes. Shoes is a good thing. So once again, that's a great introduction to the Catskill 3500 Club. We'll probably put more on a later episode. We'll put more hikes on there. I would have to say we'll probably put the toughest, which will be fun because there's definitely some good tough ones out there. But we're also going to bring it into our last segment. I don't have this written on the note, Joe, so this is kind of a surprise. But Joe and I are going to talk about a bushwhack we did back in, I don't know, it was 2 years ago on Slide Mountain.
Yes, I think so. The north side of Slide, right?
Joe and I did a bushwhack with 6 other people. I think it was like 2 years ago. We went up Slide, down into the call of Cornell and Slide, and then we bushwhacked almost on the base of Slide.
Down to Woodland Valley.
Yeah. So that was a crazy hike. The funny thing is I brought a friend that I probably shouldn't have brought. Actually, he was on the last episode, my friend John. I don't think he was ready for this type of bushwhack, and it was intense. Some of our friends that went on the hike, one of them, probably one of the most experienced hikers in the Catskills, said it was the toughest hike that he's ever done. And this was good old Joe's idea. We were actually looking for a plane crash on the side of the mountain. We didn't find it. We scoured the mountain, but what an experience, huh, Joe?
It was an interesting place to go. We went, as you said, over the top, and then we went down the north side down to Woodland Valley. And we broke up into 4 groups of 2. And everybody was experienced hikers, I thought, except for your buddy John. And
nice.
And then we picked a place about 1.5 miles across the mountain at different elevations to meet up. And I was a little nervous as people were trickling in late.
Yeah. So during the middle of that hike, I had my friend John with me, and I was nervous as heck because he just kept falling and falling, and he looked miserable. So in the middle of that hike, when I really think we were only like not even a quarter of a mile away from you, Joe, and I was like, I'm going to have to helicopter this guy out of here. How am I going to get him out of here? And I think he was thinking the same way too, but he said later that in his mind, he knew he had to get out and he was going to get out himself. So, but like Joe said, Joe made a meeting point on a GPS map, and it was crazy because we all were spread out at different elevations on the mountain. So there was 4 groups, and we were all spread out, but we all met at the same point, which was absolutely phenomenal because I was just like, this isn't going to happen.
Well, we basically did a grid search over, a couple of square miles.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
it was awesome.
We were looking for what type was that? The B-52?
It was supposed to be a B-17 that I read in an online report, but after I did some more extensive research, I don't believe there is actually a B-17 in the Catskills.
And that's a huge plane, right?
Oh, it's a 4-engine bomber. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that would be awesome.
Yes, I thought so.
Just and you got to admit, if that was somewhere there, we would have at least seen some remnants of it.
Oh, if it was there in that area, I think we would have seen it.
But yeah, definitely a great adventure that Joe has taken me on. Amazing adventures, and I guarantee he still plans to. like I said, Joe and I are plane crash hunters, and that's going to be a different episode. So hopefully the next episode, we might do that as the next episode or the one after that. But plane crashes are Joe's specialty, and it's somewhat my specialty. Joe, you got like 27, 28 under your belt?
27 so far.
27, and I think it's 21 or 22. I forgot. But
it's gonna cost you for the rest of them.
Oh, it's gonna go? Oh, okay. I don't mind, because you've taken me on some crap that I don't want to go on again. But I say we say that all the time, Joe, and I think I would probably do it again.
Yeah, I mean, you're out there in the Catskills where nobody else, I think, has ever been. You know, some of the places we go.
Exactly. But once again, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. And if you want to buy me a coffee for I don't know what reason, I'll put a link up, whatever you want to do. And I thank you, Joe, for participating in this. Hopefully we'll have you back for future ones. Definitely will. Your knowledge and your expertise of the Catskills is definitely well thanked. That's how you say it. Definitely thank you for joining us. Joe, any last words?
No, I had a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Thank you, Stash.
Anytime. I'm glad you could join us for the second one, and sorry that happened, but I've been checking the screens right now. It's still recording. We're almost 50 minutes in, so at least it's still recording. So once again, thank you everybody for participating and listening to our episode number 2, and we'll definitely talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.